Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making cheesecake cupcakes, or like I know them, cubiletes. Vámonos! Like I promised last week, today I have something sweet for mom. And I'm staying on the lane of something super simple that anybody can do at home. It doesn't require any crazy ingredients or fancy equipment. Cubiletes, which are basically cheesecake cupcakes. And if it has cake twice in its name, I'm here for it. They get their name from their original version in Asturias, Spain, where they were baked in a traditional mold that it is basically an elongated cupcake, which give them the appearance of a bucket. And don't worry, we are going to make ours in regular cupcake trays. Super simple, super easy, but yet they are very delicate and they taste difficult, if you know what I mean. So let's get to it. I'm going to start by creaming 120 grams of softened butter with 50 grams of sugar to make a pâte sucrée. This is gonna be the paste that will form the body or the shell of the cubiletes. Once I have that cream, I'm gonna add 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I find this pastry to be strong enough to hold liquid or creamy fillings, but with a tender texture that won't crumble as soon as you bite it. With everything mixed together, I'm gonna sift 228 grams of flour and just a pinch of salt. And once again, I'm gonna take it back to the mixer with a paddle attachment, and I'll stop as soon as everything starts to bind together. Be careful not to overmix. Now I'm gonna transfer into a piece of plastic and I'm gonna use it to help me shape it into a disc. I find this the cleanest and easiest way to do it. Also, it helps that you won't be hitting the dough with your hands. When I have the shape that I want, I will wrap the plastic tightly around it, and then using a rolling pin, I'm gonna try to push away the dough to the sides. That will help me get rid of any air bubbles tighten up in that dough. Once it's nicely round and flat, I'm gonna take it to the fridge and it's gonna stay there for at least half an hour. But you can let it overnight as well. When I'm ready to bake my cubiletes, I'm gonna take my dough out of the fridge and let it rest in the counter for at least 10 minutes. And there are many different ways to do the shells. I'm gonna show you the 3 methods that I know, and in the end, the one that I prefer. For the first method, you could weight and divide in equal parts your dough, and then using your fingers pressing inside your cupcake mold to form the shell. I find this method to be easy, but a little bit uneven, and I want to make sure that my dough is gonna cook evenly and it's gonna have throughout an even texture with enough room for the filling. Another practical method is by using a tortilla press. Once again, you divide and weight your pastry and then using a plastic to protect, you're gonna press evenly your dough and make discs. Those discs then you are going to press on your cupcake mold. And even though it's practical, for me it is hard to make even discs. And that's why I prefer method number 3, which is not as practical as the first two, but it works for me. I'm gonna lightly flour my surface and my dough, and I'm gonna use a rolling pin to evenly flatten my dough. I am looking for 1/4 of an inch thickness, more or less. And to make sure that all of my discs are going to be even and they're gonna have a clean edge, I use a 3.5-inch circle cutter. Even though I will have to do as many as they fit and probably will have to reshape my dough to make the rest of them, I think that it gives a nice appearance and definitely gets an even coction and texture all around. So give all of these methods a try and use whichever works best for you. Now carefully I'm gonna place the discs on top of my cupcake tray and carefully push them from the center and the sides evenly. Since I'm using pâte sucrée, I don't have to worry about poking holes at the bottom of my cupcake, nor should I need to par bake. Pâte sucrée is a dense, high-fat, low-moisture dough, so it won't create a lot of steam, so all my cubiletes will have a smooth and even crust. I will, however, let them sit in the fridge for at least 10 minutes right before I prep the filling. And once again, you'll see how simple. I'll be making my filling in the food processor. You can use a blender, an immersion blender, or even a whisk. So I'll start with 8 ounces of softened cream cheese and 1 can of sweet condensed milk. You can go for 1 cup, but honestly, there's not much different in using the whole can and it's not that sweet. To that, I'm also going to add 2 whole eggs, a splash of vanilla, and 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. The cornstarch helps with a smooth texture. You won't see any whipping on top of your cupcakes, and it also prevents curdling from the cheese and eggs. Now that my pastry is chilled, I can add the cheese filling. I like to go all the way to the rim. Depending on your mixing method, you will see or not cracks on top of your cupcakes. I like the cracks because that's how the traditional ones are. If you want less cracks, then I recommend whisking by hand. In a 350 Fahrenheit preheated oven, in they go for 20 minutes. As soon as you take them out, they're gonna have a nice little dome. As you can see, I got some good cracks. That sounded bad. Anyway, as soon as they cool down, that dome will collapse and you will have flat looking cupcakes just like this one's. Mine turned out a little pale. I'm not too happy about it, but it doesn't matter. You can fill them with pineapple and add an extra layer of dough to enclose them, or even do both pineapple in the bottom and cheese on top. In some places, I've even seen cornbread cubiletes. But my favorites will always be just plain cheese. If you want them to get a little bit nicer, you can dust some powdered sugar on top and even add a little bit of color with strawberries or raspberries or any other thing that you can imagine. And please check this out. This is what I meant when I said that they look difficult, but they really aren't. And here you have them. They did turn out a little bit paler than what I was expecting. They're as pale as my butt during the winter time. If you want yours to have a little touch of gold, then you can increase the temperature to 420 and bake between 10 and 15 minutes. If not, keep the original baking instruction. Raise the first rack of your oven, especially if you have a convection oven. But if you have a gas oven, you're probably gonna be just fine. And there's nothing wrong with them, they're gonna be perfect. We do love some whites, that's the reason why I moved here. Comedy aside, let's give them a try because they smell so sweet that I cannot resist. They are so creamy. And the reason why I like to get an even paste is because you get more of the filling, and that is my favorite part. Put some toppings on it or just let them be. They are just fabulous. And there you go, something sweet as the love of a mother. I really hope you enjoyed this recipe, just like this video. And if you did, please share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.